the defense gave them a chance to win and stop their run.
Yeah, and it's funny because they didn't have the 3rd and short. And that, to me, was a good example of what the first quarter, they had the 3rd and 1. They're throwing a big back at them with Garrett Blunt. And, you watch the line, how they played it, and both Terrell McClain and Ziggy Hood did a great job taking double teams, and not just taking them, but holding their ground. And then you see the combination with that and Zach Brown's speed getting across the line and making the stop. I mean, that's a very positive play, and that's kind of indicative of what they were doing. They did a really good job against the run. Their problem was, like you said, the 3rd down, the scrambles, some botched issues there with, especially the touchdown with nobody passes on Aguilar. It looks like it's Mason Foster's right there with them, and then he and Swearinger get kind of caught just watching where Wentz is going. But that's a fantastic play by Wentz, too. And he had a few of those that happen to be on 3rd downs. Other times you look and say, why, Kendall Fuller gives up a pass on a 3rd and 7 and just gets fooled. And so or not fooled, but he's just maybe a little bit softer than you'd want to be. There were a lot of positives, I thought, defensively. The biggest issue was being able to control Wentz when he got on the move.
Right.
Joined by John Keim, covers the Redskins for ESPN. You can read his work at ESPN.com. So a couple of the questions we kind of threw out earlier, and we're talking to our listeners about, love your take on it, was whether the preseason matters, because it kind of looks like it did. There was carryover in this case. And then just the receivers. We knew they lost 2 guys who had 1,000-yard seasons last year. Is this kind of what we would expect, or do we expect, Doxson eventually to contribute and Pryor to play better?
Well, I think as far as preseason mattering, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on that because it's not – I think you have to put this in context of other teams too, and it's not like other teams are just I don't know that the Patriots, when they win the Super Bowl, are going 4-0 in the preseason and looking great every week. I think you kind of get your work in and you get out. So I mean, you can, when you struggle in the preseason, you play poorly in the first, it's like, well, maybe you're just not a very good team. I don't know. The Cousins threw more passes this summer than he had in past years. So is that, what I don't, so I don't know that there, I mean, it's easy to look and say today, yeah, it did matter because they didn't play well, but, maybe there were some, I think it was the issues that you saw in the preseason are what mattered more so than, necessarily approach or something like that. But, for example, just the run blocking was inconsistent and the run game was inconsistent, and it was inconsistent this week. I think that maybe that's just who they still are, because to me, it was inconsistent last year. Especially when they faced good defenses against the run, they struggled. And so that was an issue there. I think some of the timing with the receivers or the passing game issues, that was there in the preseason. It was there this time. So, yeah, those are the things to me just directly from the preseason are what I would look at and say, yeah, there was I don't know, is that necessarily a carryover, or is it just who they are right now? And as far as the receivers go, it's Terrell Pryor. It's funny because Terrell Pryor caught 6 for 66, and he made a really nice catch over the middle on 1 3rd down where he's getting crunched by the linebacker. That was good to see because that was something he dropped in the preseason a couple times. And, passes on the preseason were a little bit off and all that, but we've seen him make that catch and we saw him make that. I think the one thing you wonder with a guy who has transitioned to receiver is that ability to track the ball down the field. And there were a couple of deep balls where he's open, and he does a good job getting open there. But the first one, he didn't see the ball. The second one, that was the Jordan Reed hold. He's got to make that catch. And I think, he'd be the first to tell you that. But those are the plays that Deshaun Jackson would make. And then, the drift route late in the game where he dropped it, that's a play Pierre Garçon would make in the past. So I think, I don't think he's going to sit there and drop that many passes. I don't. I mean, the guy he works too hard and catches too many passes every day. But I don't think it's a matter of hands with him. I think it's more either a concentration or just getting maybe more used to being in certain situations. I don't know, because sometimes like on the drop in the fourth quarter, it's like he's looking upfield so fast to run that you need to remember, catch the ball first. And I think that's, I would imagine you just, and he bristles if you say that he's still developing as a receiver, but I just think, I think you kind of have to be when you're still relatively new to the position. And, it was phenomenal what he did last year, but there is, I think you still have to get used to situations and with a new team and all that. But so I don't know that it's going to be like that all year for him. I wouldn't expect him to be like that. But I think the other thing with Doxson, it's funny. I was surprised at that he didn't even get a target yesterday, especially based on some things you hear of him from practice and how that he was looking good, that he's a guy that, when he's right, he would be their best receiver. Well, if that's the case, I know you're still kind of rusty. There has to be something yesterday for evidence of that.